Don't be a stupid bitch. Get vaccinated.
سبحان خالق الإصباح.
Yes, y'all, it's Terror Threat Orange today as we punch in the classified launch codes into the Rodecaster Pro to set off the week here at Hameen Media Group. ChannelAttitude.com, Hacker Hameen, the Monday Locker Room, Rise and Praise, drink your coffee, slap your faces, and get that HorseshoeGenetics.com going, fired up to break down all the wrestling headlines. Here, Hameen Media Group, ChannelAttitude.com. YOLO! Oh, yeah. What's good, you guys?
Ding dong. Hello?
Yeah, ding dong. Hello, indeed. Good morning. Good morning. Spitbeard from that intro. Wow. But glad to be back with you guys. I'm not sure. I know R to the B to the V had a big weekend at the racetrack, flipping cars and breaking legs and every other damn thing that goes along with auto sports. So I'm not sure if he's going to join us or not. And also put out the secret kayfabe tweet to the vet. But if not, I'm glad to hang and bang here this morning. Never solo on the Dolo because we're here live. Bin Hameen YouTube channel, twitch.tv/Hameen Media. And already the chat room's filling up with the Haminians, the HMG loyalists, all the soldiers getting up here, getting their push-ups done early on this morning and ready for PT, ready to rock and roll. That's what I'm all about. You guys, going to be another big week here locally for my clients, a big 420 party for Horseshoe Genetics here in Rome. So if you're interested in making the trip, I know we got listeners all over the world, but if you're in that Northeast corridor and you want to come hang, 3:30 to 10 p.m., we got reggae band, DJs, giveaways, smoke lounge, just to say thank you for all of the customer support. And I know we had a lot of great orders from Hameen Media Group members growing their cannabis gardens this summer. And if you guys are interested in, you can get the best seeds at HorseshoeGenetics.com and working hard on getting our nutrient line ready. A lot of graphic design and testing and all that kind of stuff going on, getting price quotes. And it's never ending, but it's all marketing work. It's all creative work. And it's all things that I love. Wrestling, weed, hanging out with you guys, some hip hop playing. We had a great time in the AEW self-help and the SmackDown live discussion on Friday night. It was good. SmackDown was a good show. And then yesterday, probably one of the best things that could happen to me all weekend long. Recorded the SmackDown live review and return of Young Ryder to the booth. So if you're a ChannelAttitude.com Russo brand subscriber, it's good to have him back, man. And made it through. He had a big Sunday. Our little Stevie had a big Sunday out with the wives and then recording with me. So it was good to see him and be back in the saddle two-man booth. And I look forward to Master Shoot Theater and the Raw review as well. So, yeah. So, and last night I was on with Great Northern Wrestling, which I'll be debuting a GGP of Conspiracy Horsemen on May 6th in Ottawa. So it was great to get on their podcast, and they were interested in, some of those upper Montreal French-speaking morons didn't know about Hacker Hameen, so we had to take him to school yesterday. So there was a lot of good interaction with that chat. So just more and more crossover and international incidents coming for you, Castro. I mean, whatever your fake name is you go by up there, Prime Minister. Trudeau, Castro, it's all the same to me. But yeah, Allah, man, kind of a quiet news weekend, which, I mean, there's plenty of headlines, but nothing too salacious, which means usually in the wrestling world, somebody's going to do something real stupid in about 3, 2, 1. Okay, so there should be crazy headlines by the end of the week, and it's all going down. But I see chat filling up, and John Hartnett, another great co-host this week. Thanks for filling in, John, on Light the Fuse to break all that show down. But like I said, Stevie was back for SmackDown, and Strangler Steve in the lineup last week. Just all awesome co-hosts joining us here. But whether the vet or RBV make it today. You know, we're here. No worries. It's Monday, kicking it off. Everybody's got something to do, and hopefully you got a lot of goals set up for your week to smash them, accomplish them. And by Thursday, 420, you can kick back and relax and know that there's only one day left. And then I'll be headed up to St. Catharines, Ontario, #1 contendership at Crossfire Wrestling. Should be hell of a match versus Tyler Turva, our second time facing each other. First time in St. Catharines. I think we were in Welland before when I beat the shit out of him. And we'll see if Mr. Saturday Night can hang on a Sunday afternoon with Hacker Hameen. Allahu Akbar. 420 week, you're on the Prowl for Deals, says Mike Martin. Absolutely. Everybody's looking for that top grade stuff. My man Greg Mosier from Louisville, glad to see you checking in this morning. Jay Hall, always the working man, kicking ass, hanging out with us. My man Frank's Pickle Barrel Ass, Media M5. All the heavy hitters are here this morning, you guys. So appreciate you hanging out all weekend long, man, spending time together. And it's always good to clock in digitally to everybody, see what they got going on during the weekend, have some laughs and fun. I did see, just checking Drudge Report this morning, I mean, the Fox versus Dominion is the big headline, which I don't really give a shit about. It's all bullshit. But all bullshit that I did care about, because I've kind of not dreamed or fantasized, but as a conspiracy horseman, these are like the headlines that you like to see about this. Could this be the last king, that the royal family is in shambles and like that kind of stuff? I love to see during my lifetime. I've never gotten it, supported it, this obsession with some Disney family that rule everyone in our lifetime, and why people even want to submit to be ruled by a bunch of inbred idiots who have been given generational wealth, and they're really the controlling factors in these Illuminati behind the scenes masters of the world, and to see their world come crumbling down. And I rip them all, every image off of every dollar piece of paper. I mean, there won't be dollars soon. Everything's going to be run crypto scam. But you know, just to erase them from history. This is when people really start to break free from these stupid old silly confines that were handed down to us, that just had to be accepted. So I would love to see the royal family just crumble and their legacy end in my lifetime. That would be such a wonderful thing. But then the rest will go underground. And are they more dangerous that way? You haven't heard shit about Dick Cheney and George Bush in a long time, but you think they're not doing their own shit? They absolutely are. So I really, really hope nothing but the worst for that entire system of monarchy, or whatever they want to call themselves. It's all theater. It's all wrestling. It's all phony. They put on costumes, same as the Vatican. You know, and if the royal family falls, that keeps my hopes up that the Vatican will crumble to the ground as well. And maybe humanity will, for the first time in my lifetime, actually wake up. And not wake up, I hate to say those tropes, cliches. Like, if they're crumbling, we're already done with their charade, you know? So that's just a Drudge Report headline that made me smile this morning. I really like that a lot. You know, I can't remember his name. The guy who was leading like a Proud Boys revolution over there. I know they label everybody Nazi or whatever on everything, but like he did time. They sent him away. He was an activist, and I don't know a ton about him, so I don't want to like go to bad, be like, he's the man. But when they were when they held the protest and they were rocking and rolling on the gates of Buckingham and all that kind of stuff, I was like, this is what we're looking for right here. This is where we need to be going, man. So but you know, they're all exposed. It's very strange to even allow them to function or hold any dominion over anybody. But we'll see about Dominion versus Fox. I don't know. I've got so much else going on to waste my time and energy and emotion on any of that kind of stuff to do a classic. What
kind of person to say a toe to so? But you know what? A toe to so. A fucking a toe to so.
You know, I don't need to waste time on that. I probably got plenty of other big things going on right now. So, and we're at 25 strong. I see you guys joining the chat. Appreciate that. no doubt we'll clock in and clock out. I thought SmackDown was really good. There was a lot of surprisingly strong matches on there. Then this weekend, even guys who were on SmackDown who kicked ass, LA Knight and Killer Cross and a bunch of other guys. I think Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I can't believe they allowed him in there over me. That was rough, but all showed up and showed out to hang out in some walk. Johnny Nitro, Johnny Morrison, Johnny Impact, whatever you want to call him. He made his Johnny Boxing this weekend as he made his debut to fight a YouTube boxer and knocked him out in what is it, content creator boxing match or something along those lines. I'm just trying to find the headline. I got so many of them up here. Up where? Up there. No, that's Thunder Rosa. Oh man, botching the spot here. But you can check out all the video online. He hits him with a 1-2, and whether it's a half-ass work or not, it was actually a better knockout than most of what we've seen in these Jake Paul fights and every other thing going down. Man, I thought I had all that up. Get it up, pal. No DQ. No, it's Jeff Hardy. We don't need that. But big shout out to John Morrison. Taya Valkyrie, obviously, there looking like $1 million, an absolute stunner, man. Like, it's almost a shame that she's in wrestling because she could be a modern day Marilyn Monroe. I mean, not that you want to end up like Marilyn Monroe did by any means, but she's just got that va 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 boom. You know what I mean? That you either kind of got it or you don't. But Hartnett not putting it over, and he was a little bummed that had 2 left feet. And Morrison doesn't look that bad. Well, he's a natural athlete. We've seen what John Morrison can do with the parkour and all that. However, Hartnett thinks he's funny trying to rib me with Hacksaw with a 2x4 in the intro. Not pleased when I see Hacksaw. We got unfinished business. So the Creator Clash, Epic Mealtime was the guy that he KO'd. Bob was telling me in the chat room. And, good little side venture into boxing. Morrison's always been a guy, that can go almost anywhere and reinvent himself on the Johnny nameplate and still looks like $1 million. Was super jacked. Definitely probably studying some climate change while, he was getting ready for this. He was just looked more dense instead of that lean John Morrison that we see, just a big son of a bitch. But always one of the nicest guys in the locker room. So I don't think of him as having that killer instinct to go and really kick somebody's ass, you know what I mean? But when you strap on the gloves and it's time to go, there's no, Starship Pain or watch this plancha over. It's turn your hips and throw one. And they did, whether the guy knew the punch was coming or not, it was a stiff enough 1-2 to make it believable. So they were celebrating. He had all his boys there. I know he's super tight with Killer Cross and LA Knight. So that's always cool, man, to have your buddies there, and they got away from wrestling for a minute to see what's what. But Morrison wants to call out even I saw in the story that he wants to fight again, but people were pitching Matt Cardona versus Morrison in a boxing match, or instead of Morrison. But what do you think? Who do you think would win there of the jacked, sexy guys, Cardona or Morrison? It's a lot of man meat in the ring right there, pal. I'm here to tell you right now. Oh my!
No bread, no water, just meat. That's all he wants. That's all he needs.
And especially with Killer Cross and LA Knight, that's Jesus Christ. Look at all the goddamn climate change experts. To have them at ringside, nobody was going to fuck around that night. That's for sure, boy. You wouldn't want that posse coming down on you. Holy Christ. But good for him, man. There's something about as we get older, I think, in this business, call it midlife crisis or whatever, of wrestlers wanting to prove that they're tough guys with CM Punk. Other guy, John's doing it here. I've been wanting to box Chris LaPlante for like 2 years, but he's too chicken shit scared to fight me. For a big, tough hockey guy, he doesn't want to face me in the ring wrestling, but he won't box me. because he's scared I'm going to knock his ass out in front of his kids. But we'll see, man. There's something about that that's just triggered. Like, I just want to have one fight where I knock somebody out, just fantasize about it. And I think Morrison might have had a little of that going on, you know? So very interesting. This was interesting. You know, we've got plenty of pharmacologists, but you know, there's a sentiment online about Trish, and there's a lot of positivity online about how tight the Impact locker room is right now. I saw Dreamer putting that over, and you know, after the very stupid incident with Rick Steiner and Giselle Shaw, you know, that was highly unnecessary. That might have bonded them together even stronger. And I know that Knockouts division locker room says that they're on the same page. It seems like there's less drama there than there is in the WWE one. And you can check it all out with the Vet and Let's Go Brandon on the Impact Attack. I'm sure they give a great perspective every week on how things are ever changing. But, you know, with body dysmorphia or being the fat kid, that's another thing that, you know, we always battle with. Everybody kind of is in America, and this fucking corn-fed, high fructose corn syrup, fast food death spiral we've been in for the last 20 years, just becoming morbidly obese slugs. You know, that she worked hard in lifting weights, but at the same time, as Trish or Jordan Grace, whatever you want to, really focus to get in insane shape for bodybuilding competition. You know, there's just no way to change your body like that in 6 months without advanced steroid use. Climate change use. And, you know, people were putting side by sides of what she sounded like before and what she was looking like now. And it just doesn't, even as jacked as you are or whatever it is, you can tell what healthy looks like. And neither of those were a mentally healthy place. They're both very much extremes of a side effect of body dysmorphia that obviously I think women probably suffer through it a lot harder, you know, with the way society projects everything on them. And you can do all the climate change and B12 and Florida water you want. You still got to put in the work, you know what I mean, to get to that point. But it just looks like there's a big cliff coming for mental stability. And as the pendulum swings as far one way, it swings as far the other way. Hopefully she can find some middle ground, but you know, you're sacrificing a lot of possible future health, and you know, you're doing it for all the likes and everyone's putting you over. But meanwhile, at the same time, they're going, this doesn't look like it's going to end well. So it's if that's what you want to do, it's your trip around the sun. You know what I mean? It's not here to be like, you shouldn't do any of that and pass judgment like that shit. But when you call it one thing and it's completely really another thing, you know, and everyone's patting you on the back while you're making choices that seem good for your inner self, but really you're doing more damage because you're not maybe really addressing the psychological factors and taking care of those as much. You know, and I could be wrong. I don't really know her. I just know that a lot of fans, and including Big Ray, tweeted it out, you know, not just to be a meme slam of like, look at her dude, like she looks like a dude or whatever, you know, like that's what these bodybuilding competitions are. You have to almost go to a insane place of being gaunt, I guess would be the word, where you just deplete your body so they can see every striation in your muscle. And, you know, there's probably as much a work as anything in wrestling is, but that was she won and set a goal and accomplished it, you know, and I'm sure that felt great. But you know, what damage have you done to yourself instead of facing, you know, a reason that maybe would have been a little more constructive to your health? I don't know. That's all speculation. I just know a lot of people online were mentioning it this weekend and whatnot. So, yeah, that's how it goes. She's no goddamn Stan Stansky, that's for sure, pal. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah. Let's see. So, and speaking of, weight loss, this is somebody we've talked about it. I actually tried the DM and because I wanted to work a program with her on the indies after doing plenty of ribs. Did somebody say ribs? But Lena Fanene, formerly known as Nia Jax, has revealed that she's down an impressive 48 pounds over the last 6 months and has credited former WWE Women's SmackDown champion Charlotte Flair for helping her achieve it. That's awesome. That's awesome, man. In the last, how many months was it? Last 6 months. So probably since right before Royal Rumble, she probably started on the diet thinking, all right, I'm coming back and they're going to have me back. Then they didn't use her after Royal Rumble. But man, if she could drop that and get back to, not saying, that she wasn't good as like a big Van Vader style, in WWE, it was good to have that Dewdrop's kind of that role now taking her spot, but we're not doing anything with her. But man, if you go back and look at Nia when she was a model, just how beautiful it was. And, there's something in, I think, the genetics too, especially in the Samoan tribe, where once somebody kind of goes into that morbid obesity, it's so hard to turn it off for them. I think there's an extra challenge that comes with that, and I'm glad to hear 50-pound weight loss is huge, just on your joints and your organs and ability to move and get your metabolism going again. And man, wouldn't it be awesome to see her come back as just a great success story of I'm not going to let this run my life. And yeah, I deal with all that, but good on Charlotte for helping her out and being a motivator there. And I would love to see her lose. I don't even know how much X amount more where she feels comfortable, in what she should be looking like and can motivate a lot of other people in her story. That could be a massive success story to help spark other people on that weight loss journey. The Biggest Loser and all that kind of stuff did a lot of good, but a lot of damage for people because that show was also a work. But man, if she can do it and Charlotte's helping her and all that, then that could definitely be inspirational for everybody out there who's having that stuff. So I'm glad to read that story and not just trying to make a fat joke or a body joke or anything along those lines, because I've done enough about taco pockets and all that kind of shit. Is this catering? We can do that funny, rude shit all day long, but somebody working their ass off, go through it, man. Believe me, I'm no Chris Masters, Chris Adonis myself. So I'm glad to see people taking control of their health a little bit and hopefully inspiring. And I'm sure if she lost 100 pounds, man, could you imagine that? And she comes back, like the place would go absolutely nuts. I really hope so. That'd be great. I don't know. We're talking about women's wrestling now, so I might as well go on. This was kind of a weird thing, and Stevie and I talked about it a bit this week. And Rhea Ripley's done such a good job, in ring and creating this character. Going into WrestleMania, her promos were kind of lackluster, so we really need to work on some character work. But then we saw the autograph signing stuff, with the neckbeards tracking her down and her selling for it on social media. And it's really this social media selling where, hey, I'm this person on camera and I'm supposed to be a believable badass heel, but I'm going to do all these things on social media because this is my real life and I don't have to subscribe to that. And I'm going to sell for people, that have no bearing on my life really. And, lessen my character's seriousness, because this weekend she called out a fan for being a fucking disgusting human being. She said Thursday night she lost one of her favorite people, her Nana, her grandmother. I'm going to miss your strong, loving hugs and your little sassy, cheeky attitude. It's hard to say goodbye, but able to see you again in February was the highlight of my year. I miss you and I love you with all my heart. Her grandmother, looks like she lived quite a life. She's definitely an older woman who passed, and doesn't make it any harder to lose somebody in your family. And that's the sentiment of it. But then some shitbag fan goes, "Go home and leave the WWE, please, Rhea Ripley. No one likes you." And she responds to it, man. She says, "People like this make me regret leaving everyone I love behind. I've missed years without people I love to entertain and live my dream. You're a fucking disgusting human and don't deserve me. But here I am doing my job. Realize what's TV and realize what's real life. I deserve better." Yeah. Why are you selling for that? She's the one who needs to realize what's TV and what's real life. And for her, Twitter is not real life. It's part of her toolkit to get over her TV persona. It's not a place to go and talk about the loss of Nana and share that, because all you're doing is taking away from all of the work you've put in to cultivate this character. It's very sad. Everyone's going to lose grandparents and parents and hopefully not children or best friends in their lifetime, but it happens. And to go on there, I don't even know what these terms are. I don't think it's virtue signaling or whatever the fuck these terms are that they come up with. But to go out there and be like, "Oh, I have to tell the world that my grandmother died and share it with them because I want to get likes and dopamine hits because of it." Like, does Nana really give a shit about Twitter? Like, does she have a lot of friends? Like, does this need to be out there? And it's very much like in another realm that's not just Rhea. All this stuff that's gone down with Vicky Guerrero and Sherilyn Guerrero and Shaw and the new husband allegations, and all that stuff is happening in front of the world. And I'm saying to myself, why do you work so hard to create your own brands only to set it all on fire, to undermine it? And then, because really, even not saying she can't post about, her grandmother's passing and all that. If that's what you want to do, then that's what you feel you need to do to help be cathartic, then whatever. But it's when some shitbag who puts one little stupid tweet sets you in motion and then exposes you further as a weak person. I just don't understand why this isn't a finable offense, why there isn't a WWE boot camp of this is what you will and will not do. And especially when you're playing a heel, and Stevie and I went into it too, even the strange ending with Charlotte at WrestleMania smiling like, "Look at me, I made a new champion. Aren't I great doing business for everybody?" Instead of selling what this is. So I just lost my title. I'm the queen. I've been dethroned. There's a new evil queen and I've got to do something. Like, none of that was in there. None of that was in there, man. So there's a lot of people who are at the top in this business who still think no, this is the new way it's done. No, the way you're doing it is wrong. And if you can't see that and see how that undermines your own money, your legacy, and what you're currently doing, well, that means you're seriously in the Florida bubble and you need some outside perspective in order to be the visual. Yeah. And yeah, we do make that choice of leaving our family and friends and missing graduation parties and birthdays and holidays, and somebody passes away and you're on the road. Like, that's the carny life we chose for the extreme performance dopamine shot and hopefully bright lights and big money and that the world knows your name. But you can't go back to small town Joe Smith whenever you want to and play that card. That's just the deal that we made with this business. So, thoughts to her and her loss, but at the same time, this is just another lesson where a lot of people, old schoolers, look at this stuff and they just go, why are you even doing that? Selling for these assholes, letting them get a piece of you, But yeah, there's the John Morrison thing after. It was Epic Mealtime's Harley Morenstein that in the third round, he scored the knockdown in the first two rounds. But Morrison wants KSI for a fight. So isn't that it's Logan Paul's buddy there, right? Who was in the costume of the energy drink, I believe. So Morrison, knockout artist. I like it. Let's see. Fred Durst is in the goddamn chat room, pal. I like that Limp Biscuit there, pal. Let's look. Get me a Limp Biscuit, Deuce. I want a stiff one too, if you got one back there. Let's see. Update on Johnny Gargano's future. Another Johnny here. We got all the Johnnies. With WWE status following the 2022-2023 Stand and Deliver Premium Live event. According to Fightful Select, Gargano re-aggravated the shoulder injury that kept him out of action for most of January. Fightful noted the following regarding the situation. We're told that the shoulder injury got worse after his Royal Rumble return. And by the time of NXT match with Grayson Waller, he was severely hampered in using one arm. The hope from the company is that he can repair the injury with physical therapy as opposed to surgery. Fightful also shot down internet speculation that Vince McMahon was the reason for Gargano's absence from television. As it brought up now, McMahon communicated with Gargano about signing a new contract in late 2021. That sucks, man. Everybody, I'm probably, if I was a bet man, which I am when John Hartnett tells me to be, that it's probably the left shoulder because we work the left side and everybody's left rotator cuff is fucked up constantly. For almost 3 years, I couldn't pull mine behind there. And if it wasn't for Stevie Richards' fitness and, using the resistance bands to build all that up and do recovery over a year, it'd still be jacked up. So, I definitely, resistance band training for Johnny Gargano, I got to say, is probably the way to go, instead of trying to push it. I know Matt Jackson hurt his arm too, and they were worrying about surgery, but I think he's going to be back for the stooge I got in the next 3 to 4 weeks, possibly from his physical therapy. So these can be dealt with. Eventually, he'll probably have to get cut on, but man, it's a tough call. Released, brought back. Vince is back. Is it Vince keeping him off TV because he's too small and not believable? Sam Shaw, or whatever you want to call him, is his silent psycho partner. That guy's got money written all over him. And they wanted to carry over the NXT storylines that nobody was really into or understood, and we don't really quantify them. So what do you do with Johnny Gargano? He was definitely, doing stuff with the wife there, and then he was hurt. But hot tag coming in hot right now. It's my man, the Vizat. What's good, pal? Thanks for joining me this morning. Doing it in great timing here as we're talking Johnny Gargano's injury when he faced Grayson Waller. I didn't get to see that match, but he looks like he's on the shelf right now. I'm not sure if they worked that injury to get heat on Grayson Waller, like he's the one who put him out, but I'm hoping they did. If there's you're going to be on the shelf, but figure you might know better than I on that one this morning. Good morning, Vet.
Good morning. Let's see. Johnny Gargano and Grayson Waller. If I remember correctly, Johnny Gargano just straight up won, beat the shit out of him, left him laying, and that was it. So if there's a worked injury, I don't know anything about it.
Okay, so this report says that's why he's on the shelf because of it. But I always if your shoulder's hurt and you're going out, I'm hoping we're going to do some business with that injury if it's one thing or another. But they didn't. That's too bad.
I guess not. I mean, if someone can correct me if I'm wrong, even though I reviewed that match, but the way I remember it, he left with his hand held in the air, and I was not aware of an injury. So.
Okay. The artist returns asking a good question. You're a legit question, but why only the left side? I've never understood that. I'm ambidextrous. When I try to get into the business, it was very awkward trying to follow that rule. That's so we always really know, that we're giving our partner that, and we work in a horseshoe that goes counterclockwise. So when you're cranking on a guy, he can go around that way, and his left arm is pivoted. So if you had the right arm, you'd be working clockwise, and now we're not kind of in the same zone. So in Mexico, you might see some things get worked on the other side, but mainly left side is what we come up with and how we work around the ring. So, and why get both of your shoulders torn out when you only need to get one of them torn out, sacrifice one, not both.
Most people are right-handed, so I assume that's probably had something to do with it.
Yeah,
when it was originally created. But yeah, everything just feels, when you learn that way, everything feels more natural. If you're right-handed, doing everything with your left, whether it's going for a tackle, grabbing a headlock, I would never have, even before I was ever trained for a moment in professional wrestling, I don't know if I ever would have grabbed a guy in a headlock with my right hand.
Right.
even though I'm right-handed. So
Well, even say you got a guy in an arm bar and you're going to work heat on him and drop a right elbow on him. Well, you got him trapped with the left, so it's in there. If you had it the other way, you'd have it trapped and have to strike with your left. So that's definitely right on. And the dominance of it as well lends towards you working the left side. And it's just an agreement we make. And then there were times, and we kick right-footed. As well. Now, if you got to do a double super kick and get one off like Usos, and you got to turn in and do it that way, then you can if you're face to face as opposed to both hitting it with the right, or you're stomping a guy out in the corner. You might see that, but yarders who got signed, like you would see Jeff Hardy do left-footed kicks, and Rip would get fucking pissed when that type of shit would go down. So
a lot of guys are like that. Like Hulk Hogan did right-handed suplexes.
Yeah.
It's like, that's Hulk Hogan, you know? So no one is exempt from being rotten, but yeah, it's mostly the way Rip used to explain it was just so that everybody is on the same page, and probably because, tying that into the dominance of the right hand, just so, because if you've ever, here's the thing, like a lot of guys throw right-handed clotheslines, like, so even when you're like, I guess everybody used to throw left arm clotheslines too, and that feels natural, like to go to the left side when you're going, left shoulder to left shoulder, left chest to left chest with a tackle.
Yeah, a shoulder tackle, so you expect it to be there, but a clothesline comes right.
And the first time someone, and so Rip would say, he would say, hey, if you throw a right-handed clothesline, just tell the guy so he knows to expect it. And I was like, well, it should be obvious, until the first time some guy threw a right-handed clothesline at me and I was already on his other side. So I'm like, now either he or I have to step into the clothesline the opposite way, because we're so used to coming left chest to left chest for a tackle. So by just having that universal agreement, okay, we're gonna do everything, we're gonna all we're gonna move around the ring to our right, we're gonna kick with our right, we're gonna throw a clothesline with our left unless otherwise specified. Like these are all the things just to avoid that awkwardness that, I mean, I assume the vast majority of fans don't even think about that kind of stuff. They just take everything for granted as they see it.
No, they don't even have an idea about it. It's only super smart media group workers and fans that are talking at that level of why are we even working the left side? So, that's a great question and very insider knowledge, and absolutely right from the vet as always on that one, man. But do you think, with Gargano, obviously, on the shelf, now we got to restart, and we try to do the baby wrestling and get the little wife over and that type of stuff. Do we go back to some reinvention with the family, or is this going to be post WrestleMania bloodbath where McMahon says, I fired him once, I don't see any money on him, he's small, even though he can definitely get over, there's no doubt about that. We just need to have the right storyline to do it with them. I pitched the Nikki Cross stuff with the wife where, it's kidnap the baby, but she really doesn't. And then the third time the baby is missing, we have a couple false alarms where it's just overprotective parents, and some weird stuff there. There's interesting little bits in there, but they're all kind of on the shelf right now.
I don't know. One of the things about Johnny Gargano that I've never liked is that, I'm not totally against guys of a certain size, but you have to portray that size. And Johnny Gargano works a same size match with everybody he's ever been in the ring with. He refuses to tell a story where he is like an underdog. It's almost like he's the overdog coming in like, hey, I'm Johnny Wrestling, you got to beat me. Like that's the attitude that I've gotten ever since, like when DIY was in, speaking of clotheslines, you want to talk about DIY versus the Authors of Pain back in NXT and them taking clothesline bumps from these two fucking midgets. You know what I mean? Like that's the audacity to even be calling that in the back. Like, yes, excuse me, Akam and Rezar. I'm thinking clothesline for you guys. Like,
no, should be drop kick and they brush it off. I got to give a big drop kick shout out. I'm not sure if this is his a screen name, the Steel Peanut IO for life. My man, the Safe Digger, hopefully is in the house this morning. Congratulations, buddy, on your beautiful wedding, man. I'm so happy for you, and saw you yesterday getting motivated to really kick ass and step up your workout game. You've been doing great with the he's Mr. Backyard Renovation, Mr. T-shirt creator, Mr. DJ out there. My man Bill Savely, the Save Digger, an OG friend of mine from Chicago Improv Olympic days. All my love, brother, Wolfpack. But yeah, that's complete bullshit to call clothesline on those guys.
Right. So that's just one. That's one of those reasons where I was like, well, he's dead to me. But the thing that you can. If you reinvent him in a way where he has to play that role that he's supposed to play, then I guess there's something to that. But one of the things you got to do is you got to beat him on television badly enough times that the people are begging for him to win. That'd be the only way to like really drum up interest in Johnny. I mean, he's okay with the performance part and the goofy stuff they like to do. But his wife is absolutely bland. There's nothing there. The kid is just a kid, so we're not really going to do anything.
That's what I'm saying.
With
if
him.
you kidnap the kid, now we've got real emotion, right? Real
yeah,
stuff.
well, all right. But then you got kidnappings on TV and all this stuff like that. I hate.
It is a
rail
TV
about.
show.
Yeah, it's on TV. It's not a TV show, but that's a different debate. The thing about I wonder, when Triple H did he? I mean, Johnny Gargano never got cut, but a lot of guys did, and then they got brought.
I thought he was one of the guys who got bloodbath.
No, he took the parental leave. That's why he was gone the first time. He was never actually officially fired. So he took that time off, and that's when they did the original angle with Grayson Waller to like take him out. To leave him off of TV so that he could, get his parental leave, and then and all that stuff, and then he comes back and he gets his little run. They do the Dexter Lumis, the Raw, all that stuff that you've been seeing on Raw, and then he comes back to NXT to finish up the business, I guess, with Grayson Waller or whatever. But instead of putting Grayson Waller over, he goes over. So there's that, and so like I guess. But with the people that we know that Triple H has brought back and re-signed and stuff, do you kind of wonder, is it like a thing where he felt like, maybe there's nothing on these people, but I owe them at least, because I've been with them so long, I owe them at least a chance to get over?
100% it. You can't go, I ran developmental, and then your people get cut, and you never get the payoff of the investment of what you've done there. Now, you kind of can't go with Gargano of like the funny tongue-in-cheek versus The Miz. There's no real teeth there. That's an easy way to intro him, but that's not going to take him to where we need to go. We need a real storyline and stakes to show them as humans, and to lose, and to have a guy that size and a girl that size overcome great odds. That's what's good about them being small. You just have to stack up the right emotional baggage for them to overcome it. But right now, just having funny little, it's baby wrestling too. Everybody
also everybody wipes their feet on The Miz. So what's one more guy? Like, it doesn't mean anything at that point.
What do you do with a Sam Shaw or not Sam Shaw? What are they called?
Dexter Lumis?
Dexter Lumis, to like restart him if he's a silent psycho character. The guy looks like a friggin' Superman villain. You know what I mean? There's something there with Bray Wyatt to mix him into a psycho clan. I don't know, man. Like you can start by actually having him on television having matches, because a lot of the stuff that he does have, he gets over in the ring, in the matches with the opponents, and seeing them react to the things that he's doing. If he's just standing somewhere weirdly, like that's not going to get him over. So have you seen the guy on YouTube? I think he's a ex Iraq or Afghanistan soldier, and jacked, good looking dude, but he does satire where it's like Bob Ross. And he just paints a stupid painting, and it's all to do with like political stuff. Like, if it was the Bud Light can or whatever, we're gonna take some blue here, and he does it. But in a 10-minute video, he says all these like little quirky things that are like no-nos, and then he does a take like, after he says something. Have you ever seen that dude on YouTube?
I have not.
He gets views, man, but he's not, in the mainstream known. I could see, could we reinvent? I'm trying to think what's good about, that Dexter Lumis does above everybody else. He's obviously got the look, the physique, but his drawing, we've established that. Can we create a Bob Ross satire character out of him? You know what I mean? And get that over.
Maybe not on main television shows, but that's perfect content for the kind of extra stuff they run as like online exclusives and on the, all those shows that a lot of us don't have time to watch, like The Bump or whatever, where they have interviews and things. Like they're all, WWE has so much content that we don't even ever talk about because we just don't have time. Somebody's watching it. So like for internet content, I think that'd be great to have and for all I know, they do have a Dexter Lumis's painting corner or whatever. Like maybe they're already doing that and we're just not watching it. But right. I mean, something like that. Yeah. But am I going to spend prime real estate time on him and his paintings? No, I'm going to get him over as the character he's trying to get over. And then we're going to add the painting as supplemental content for people who are interested.
I was looking at it as if Gargano is on the shelf with this and they're scrapping them and the wife's not on there and they're not going to relaunch that in the future. But we've got this guy who was the B player, silent but violent guy in that. We got to restart him. We can't wait for Gargano. What can we do out of the gate to get him going?
Just matches. Let him do his shtick in front of the audience and get over guys with it first.
Gotcha. Before you came on, it was good news that Nia Jax's been working hard, down 48 pounds with the help of Charlotte Flair. Very interesting there. If she could, drop all that excess and get back to her modeling. Not that she's got to be a, plus size modeling dude. Like I could see her becoming a major, hit the talk shows, Kelly Clarkson and all them, you know what I mean, to do that kind of shit and be plug into WWE as motivational speaker type stuff,
She can go on Kelly Clarkson and say, hey, why don't you do what I'm doing?
Yeah, why are you fucking as big as a blimp? Shit. That was Gargano. Let's see here. Rumored plans for tonight's Raw involving Bloodline and Judgment Day. While things can change, initial plans for tonight's Raw include an angle that sees the Bloodline and Judgment Day decide to go after each other's enemies. We'll see Solo face off against Rey Mysterio, while Owens, Zayn, and Riddle will fight Judgment Day in the main event.
I thought you were going to say plans for Raw or future plans for Raw or the Shredder.
Oh yeah, that's future plans until it's only 9:17 a.m. Wait till about 2:30, 3:30. That shit's going in the main, so that'll be interesting. If that was stooged and that's what the networks expect, and if Vince at the 11th hour says no and we don't get that, what a strange. The more things change, the more they stay the same, right? The company gets bought out, but we're still doing this type of shit. And this is an interesting. Here's our top two storylines that haven't interacted at all, but we're just going to switch opponents. You go kick the shit out of our guys. We'll kick the shit out of your guys. It'll be interesting to see how they set that up. I don't see a reason why that should just happen out of nowhere with no build-up that I saw on Friday.
No, I don't. And after the conversation we had last week about what they didn't do and what that means going forward, don't we look smarter and smarter by the minute here? Because everything they've done on Raw and SmackDown has sucked since WrestleMania as far as all the players involved are concerned.
Yeah.
So, it's just like, I knew they had nothing. They would have had nothing even if Cody did win, but they really have nothing now. Yeah. And we're seeing that play out as how they're like, well, what if we do a feud swap? Like that's their best, they're completely out of ideas. So, you did say something interesting there though.
Thank you.
About the yes, it does happen. That you said something about the network executives, and what they expect to be on TV. So now you might know, or have some insight into this. But do you really think that anybody at USA or NBC or whatever is like pacing around the office like, oh, what's going to be on Raw tonight? What are they going to do? Is Dexter Lumis going to get restarted? What's going to happen? like how much do people, or how many people, and how much do they really care or know what's going on with Raw? Or are they just like, Well, I hope it doesn't suck tonight, and then just go on about the rest of their business.
Well, when it was USA Network solely, he did care, and he wanted to know what was coming, and especially when he would watch it and see things that were like so elementary school ridiculous, because they were telling him we want sex and violence. That's what sells. We want a more adult show, and they were trying to do that, but feed it through a elementary school filter, which is not going to work. But now that it's under NBC and everything got restructured, unless he's been replaced, I haven't heard from him in a while, but the guy was a marketing guy, like a creative team director, and he got put in the spot to handle Raw, and he would say flat out, that's above my pay grade, and I'm just kind of going along to get along. So they didn't know about the show. They didn't give a fuck, and anything they would pitch, he wouldn't pitch because he was worried about, why are you saying this to me? Who the fuck are you? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
where
exactly.
That's where we kind of left it with somebody like that. And it's not his fault being middle management or not giving a fuck. But when you were USA Network president, he gave a fuck for sure. So now they can probably get away with murder most of the time and just feed a line of bullshit. And now they don't have to worry about any repercussions because they know they're dealing with middle management.
That's just how they like it.
Absolutely. It became frustrating the last 5 months of it. It became frustrating where we had all the stroke, not all the stroke, but enough to like say what was what, and we could go right to them. And then it came back and it was just like, okay.
Because I always wonder with that ownership structure, it's like, USA's here and NBC and Comcast like owns all of that, and it's like, how many do they know? Like how many people know what's going on? How far beneath? How many layers? Like, is anybody interested in what goes on? Like at the Comcast level, or they just like, whatever the reports say.
I tried to jump that guy once, like to go over his head, and it just didn't. It was towards the end and didn't play out, but Francis Berwick and there's a couple other ones. Obviously, Bonnie Hammer's still there. That would be the Vince one, but it just kind of ended, and they were like, we're not gonna go forward at this time. So okay, but that's because he was not doing anything with the notes that we paid for, that we were contracted to, because he didn't have any of the power to step up to get anything like that done or even really suggested. So what are we doing at this point? It's just exercise in writing masturbation, reviewing a show for a guy who can't do anything with the notes,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So the reality is there are people there, but when NBC Universal got realigned, the way it was USA had its own marketing team, graphics team, creative team. This had their own as well, NBC and and then this had it. So they got rid of all those people. Now we only have one creative team that deals with all. You need graphics for that. You need graphics for this. You need this. So there's nobody focusing in on anything with that. So a lot of people got released and absorbed into other positions that were not essential workers, and people were put in positions that probably aren't the right ones for the job, but we needed to put somebody on the front lines.
Surely none of that's going on right now with this.
Not at all. Never.
You said Bonnie Hammer's still there. Is she in the same role, reduced role, higher role?
I think a higher and reduced role. You know what I mean? Like she's got people that did all her legwork from 20 years ago doing that type, and she just waves the wand, I think, over them.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's probably a nice spot to be in, no doubt. Corey Graves, controversial here, but I like it, says the women's tag division has never really caught fire. On his After the Bell podcast, he says the champions are going to drive the ship in the women's tag division. It was really important for Liv and Raquel to emerge victorious. And as far as women's tag championships go, I'm probably going to catch hell for this. It's never really caught fire. It's never been a strong division. It's sort of been an amalgam of thrown together tag teams. I'm going to team with this person tonight, and we have a tag title match we didn't win. Okay, and time to get a new partner. It's always been a very transient and constantly in flux. I'm talking the entire existence of the title since the very beginning. Liv and Raquel could be a duo, have what it takes to solidify the division. Yeah, okay, bro, good try. And maybe sit on top for a while and maybe inspire some other superstars who aren't getting the opportunities they desire right now, who want more TV time, who want more promo time, but they aren't getting it for whatever reason. Maybe somebody sitting backstage or in catering or a couple people in NXT are going, you know what? Let me make a run for this. We haven't had a serious full-time tag team in my recollection. The Iconics are the closest we've had to the titles because they were full-time act together. The rest have sort of been, hey, be my partner. Okay, we'll have a little run. Okay, on to the next. Everything feels temporary. Raquel and Liv could be very good for the division. Nice try to close it off on there again, pal, but no chance in hell. That was a screeching halt segment on a otherwise decent SmackDown. Was Raquel and Liv's completely ridiculously abhorrent promos, only to be interrupted by Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green to further cut promos that were no one gave a shit about after good sections in the show. So Corey Graves, even with a wife on the roster, you know what I mean? Saying that real stuff, man. He's a guy who's not afraid to actually look at the product from the inside, I think, and say this sucks, and it's all thrown together. And it came down to Sasha making Sasha and fucking Naomi happy by inventing some dumbass tag titles that no one gives a shit about. And these women really don't even know how to tag team wrestle.
Well, Sasha and Bailey, originally, they were the ones that it was their dream to have of course it was their dream. Their dream to have a tag team championships, a division, and stuff like that. And well, you know, Corey's right. But besides that, I'll take it one step further. The entire tag division of any gender hasn't caught fire in the WWE.
Yeah.
And I'll take it a step further than that. Tag team wrestling in the entire world sucks right now. It's horrible. There are very, very, very few competent tag teams. And even some of the ones that people like are praised and lauded as being competent are not competent, in the least. So, you know, it's become it's emblematic of how the WWE, for better or worse, changes the entire direction of the industry based on what they do. If Vince McMahon doesn't put a premium on tag team wrestling because it's something he personally doesn't find interesting, or he doesn't mind tag team matches as long as they have two superstars that are paired together, as Corey Graves was saying, just throw these two together or whatever and do something like that to get more people involved in one segment, but not really caring about actually having a tag team division as a featured focal point of your company, then everybody else is kind of going to, whether they realize it or not, they're going to sway in that direction. They're going to place a little bit less importance on tag team championships. They won't even mean to. It'll just subconsciously happen over time, over a period of years, decades even, where they're just like, oh, it's just the tag team champions, whatever, you know. So that it's gotten us to today, you know, where you had amazing tag teams in the 80s, just in the WWF alone, where you're talking about one of the lowest. The comedy act was your legendary, you know, Sheepherders team, you know, that had already had a full career before they even got there.
But we had guys that were in tag teams that were still you know, cohesive, but would break out to be individual stars, like the Rockers or the Hart Foundation, and even ones that did business from Killer Bees to everybody was on the same
British
page.
Bulldogs were there.
Bulldogs. Yeah,
you know, I mean,
and now we
Rougeau
have
brothers.
NXT, but I think the tag division has always been a way to okay, who's going to be the alpha and the beta, and who are we going to be able to push out of a tag division after a 5-year run of serious tag teams where we can have one guy turn on the other or they get behind him and just continue to be buddies for that reason. Like Ford and Dawkins, Street Profits, are probably about the only ones that are really like that right now in WWE. You know what I mean? And that's almost...
Do they feel featured?
No, but a buddy had the broken foot or whatever. But that Ford is about ready to break out as the single star. It could be heel or baby, depending on which way they want to go. He's just so athletic. You probably want to keep him baby, but I could see his character working heel because he's so beloved. When he turns, it'll mean that much more, So I look at that 80s, 90s tag division in WWE as the way to find your next world champions who you're going to get behind. But we need to have a cohesive tag team that has a run for 3 to 5 years. And you and I came up as, I don't want to say tag team specialists, but that's what we did, Army of Two and the Insurgency and how Rip trained us. There's more drama in a tag match if you build it that way than any singles match can ever have, based on danger and how the heels can cheat and draw the ref and double team or thwart a tag. There's a lot more tricks. So just because Vince McMahon doesn't like it, that's 70-year-old idiocy. It serves so much more purpose than anything else on the card ever really can. Tag team wrestling can.
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you, but I was just saying the state of how it is, not how it should be.
Not
and
wrong. Yeah.
If they want to put a spotlight on tag team wrestling, it has to be where you're not already looking ahead to the breakout star of a tag team, like the tag team. And if somebody can organically come from that, who even says you have to break up the tag team? It's just another story you can tell of a guy who, doesn't have to club his partner with a forearm from behind, because he didn't like the way he did that last match or whatever, the bullshit reasons that they come up with to break people up all the time. I mean, you can have people that aspire to more within the tag team, and the other tag team have been supportive. New Day was really good about that. Yeah. Even in spite of the company, they were like, when did New Day come out? Like 2014 or something like that. Yeah. They were probably trying to break them up 6 months in. Like, I think it's time to break you guys up, and they just they stood up for their business and became a huge money drawing act.
And then when they all supported each other, we had Kofi Mania, we had Big E's run together, and they were all pumped about it, man.
And those things sucked in their own ways because they weren't, they were half-assed, but they could have been even bigger. And that's kind of the whole thing, though, is that tag team wrestling has to be a specialized thing, and you also cheapen the entire idea of the gimmick when back in those days when you just be like, oh, reluctant partners, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin have to team up to face the New Age Outlaws, who are another two guys who were slapped together and had Jim Ross tell us they were the greatest tag team of all time 10 times a week, every week, to try to sell us on that bullshit. Nice try, Jim. That was almost as nice a try as Corey Graves, trying to say that Liv Morgan and Raquel Gonzalez are going to save the tag team division. But that's the art of salesmanship. You're trying to convince us that something's the case when it's not. And unfortunately, enough people buy into that bullshit, and we are where we are today.
And it pops you too when you hear like a Saraya or whatever you want to fucking call her, Baby Gal, that I think there should be women's tag team titles in AEW. Holy shit! You want to talk about rotten? You guys can barely get through one regular match, and you want to fucking have these girls doing tags and shotgun finishes? Good fucking luck. Let's see here. That's a big one. That's a big one there. We'll wait on that one. Speaking of women's locker rooms here, Thunder Rosa says she has apologized to the AEW locker room. Thunder Rosa has been working with AEW in a non-wrestling capacity as she continues to recover from a back injury. There's reportedly a major backstage talent meeting at AEW Dynamite on February 8th, 2023 to discuss Rosa's return, which seemingly productive in regards into easing tensions between Rosa and the locker room. During an appearance on Busted Open Radio, Rosa commented on how she's still recovering from her injury. Rosa noted, we got to respect the people that are now representing the company. I'm representing the company in a different manner. I've talked to the locker room and I took accountability for things that some people had issues with. And I went out there and apologized. And that's the best thing I can do because I want to make money. I want to make sure that I'm able to work with everyone regardless if we have issues or not. Seems like there's a lot of that going on over there right now. yeah, man, people say back injury. I heard shoulder injury. I heard got her bell rung. I heard wants time off.
Feelings injury.
Yeah, there's the didn't wait for the opponent that she hurt and just ran back to her own locker room and closed the door, which is a no-no. Like, and she runs Mission Pro, an all women's company that's doing pretty well in Texas area, man. So, like, to not be the boss and locker room leader or making moves like that is strange to me. But inside the bubble and paranoia can make people do a lot of weird things. They had Tony Storm cut the promo about the interim champion, or, you know, like these digs on it where it was probably her politicking to like, I'm coming back, but it gets laid off. And then the girls are like, we don't want her back. Also, Britt Baker in the Cool Kids Club politicking at Tony's office. I've heard a lot of that going on. You know what I mean? So it just comes down to same old bullshit. These girls are really lucky to have a job and be on TV. Yes, there's money on them. There's definitely money on Thunder Rosa with the face paint stuff in a Rey Mysterio kind of way. Absolutely. But all the fucking indie politics where they're trying to play wrestling, showing that, look, I can backstab somebody because that's the way WWE taught us to, has led us to this fucking moment of apologies that are tongue-in-cheek, that everyone has to accept to work together, even if we don't like each other. Let's get back to making money and having good matches so we don't have to see Rio running with a pipe acting like fucking she's going to do something to somebody. It's all wrestling bullshit that never really should have happened, and it's all just egomaniacal divas making their own bed, and now they have to lie in it instead of doing good business out of the gate. And they'll never really address any of this on TV, which is where the real heat is.
Right. Well, I don't. From a marketing standpoint, I like Rosa. I don't know her personally, and all I've ever heard about these things is hearsay, so I can't, I can't comment on personally. But what I do know is that, she seems like she's been wrestling a lot longer than she has. It's something like, what, 6 or 7 years?
Yeah, she did MMA.
Not that long.
MMA before that too. So she's been kind of in the Fight Carney game for probably
right. But a little bit early to be running your own wrestling promotion. Maybe, I don't know. Just what do I know? But yeah, I mean, look, this is kind of what wrestling has always been in a way, but then it gets brought up more to the forefront now that the availability is so wide open for the fans to hear about it.
Yeah, and they play it out. Like, why do you have to issue an apology in front of, like...
Well, maybe there is a reason, and we just don't know what that reason is.
Yeah, but
who
busted
knows?
Open and all that, like, to talk out of school. Like, I would just be like, we handled it. And I don't need to come out here and do a public apology to the locker room when I should be coming back going, F you bitches, I'm here to kick ass, right? Like, instead now it's like, and she's returning because she apologized, everybody. Come back with your heat. Deal with what you got to deal with off camera. Don't talk about it on a podcast, K5, and fucking come back and do something for real, So, again, more millennial wrestling choices of going on podcasts or using social media inappropriately instead of using it as a tool to enhance your storyline or character. Cough button. Got him. WWE no longer using King and Queen of the Ring name for May 27th, 2023 premium live event in Saudi Arabia from Return of the Jedi Superdome. WWE officially changed the name to event to Night of Champions. Mike Johnson, a PW insider via Paul Heyman, noted the following regarding the reason for the change. We were told it was a creative choice to change the name, allowing WWE to revive the Night of Champions event for the first time in 8 years and bring it to an international market. There's no word yet if regarding King and Queen of the Ring possibly taking place on a different date. WWE held the last King of the Ring and Queen's Crown tournaments on TV in 2021, which was terrible because whoever wins has to talk with a fucking British accent and walk around like the royal family, which is the dumbest thing ever. So
was that Woodsy? Woodsy won that one?
It was terrible. And respect to Booker T, but all that King Booker stuff to me was just brutal, Bob, bro. I just couldn't. Like, here's a chance to make a guy an African king to do fucking Coming to America, and instead we do Louis the Sixth.
Hey, we weren't respecting cultures back in 2006, Ben. We hadn't gotten there yet.
What gonna do? But yeah, so they're changing it. I thought it was gonna be Night of 1,000 Cranes. That was gonna be my no. Okay. What about the heat if they're going to have to deal with? Will there be another international incident because they didn't sell to Saudi Arabia for $12 billion and sold to Endeavor, which told Saudi Arabia to go fuck themselves because of the Khashoggi situation? Will Ben Salman put more heat on Vince McMahon?
Nah, he got out easy on that one, not wasting $12 billion.
That's the people's money. That's not his money.
Still.
Night of 1,000 flight delays, Artisan returns, points on that one. That's a good one right there. Matt Hardy addresses fan skepticism of his brother Jeff being brought back to AEW. Says, this is the most work I've seen him do on himself. He had 10 months. He seems different. Says it twice. I don't want to sit here and vouch for him. Wow. I don't want you to take my word for it or take anyone else's word for it. Watch him and follow his actions. He'll make you a believer. I'm confident that his actions, conduct, and behavior will make people a believer. He's made me a believer. When you got to keep repeating these things, it doesn't come off as genuine. I've seen a lot of him and gotten to follow him in his journey, and I know the work he's put in and how dedicated he's legitimately changing and trying to get his shit together once and for all. I'm extraordinarily proud of him. He's done great. Everybody was happy to see him. He's happy to be there. It was so adorable. Right before he went out, he was so nervous and worried because he hasn't been in the ring at all. He came in my house Monday, got in the ring and ran the ropes, took a few bumps. He was worried how the people were going to react to him. Jeff's one of the few individuals has it, and people are connected to him. When he came out and the people went nuts and were cheering and chanting, it was great, a magical moment. Really glad we got to this point and are very excited to see where we go from here. I thought this moment was stupid because it's, oh, here's a liability with Jeff Hardy. Be careful driving home, everybody. It's, here comes one guy to do a run-in while his brother's getting beat down and gets his own entrance. But we got to wait for Jeff Hardy to come and get his own entrance as well. So we're doing a double Calvary comes to save spot, but only, hey, I'm going out there. Your brother's getting beat down. Well, you go out and get your own entrance. Matt can get beat down until I get my entrance. You don't really give a shit about your brother getting beat down. The psychology was as dumb as could fucking be to wait for a music hit to go, oh, it's Jeff Hardy, instead of playing the scene reel that he's coming to get his brother from catching a beating, dude. But
at least he didn't dance this time.
Yeah, there you go. He didn't come out and dance.
Baby steps.
I guess, man.
Furthermore, you mean to tell me Jeff Hardy was just in the building, and what if nobody attacked Matt Hardy? Was he just going to sit there quietly all day and not come out at all?
Come on, I got to get out there. Hit my music. I can't find your music. We didn't know you were going to be here. Hit the music.
Pull it up on YouTube.
Now I can go. Oh, dude, just like as phony wrestling as it could be. You know what I mean? And gets off on his 7th DUI because of paperwork issues. Loses his license for 10 years, but doesn't have to even go to court and do the time or do anything, bro, with that. Like, and now he's putting in work. No, barely. You can't even call that a slap on the wrist. 4 people calling in minimum to 911 while he's on the road, erratically driving at 7 and 8 in the morning on the morning commute, bro. Not even a slap on the wrist. And then we get the working on himself. Really? Would you work on yourself if you didn't have any repercussions and punishments? How hard are you really going to work? Not as hard as if you were staring at 5 years.
Yep.
I hope the best for him. But when you gotta get the papers. He's working on himself. Like, it's just countdown clock until the next tragedy, unfortunately, bro.
Right.
And hopefully it doesn't cost somebody their lives. who, much like we saw with Briscoes or with the Sonny incident, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's I mean, look, I've run Jeff Hardy down so much on podcasts that I'm bored of it now.
Yeah,
It bores me.
We don't even need to talk that side of it. The fact of the way the run-in was done was the most laughable thing of it all, bro, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And of course, Matt's going to go to bat for his brother, dude. If it was, you know, I would
Somebody's
do it
got
for
to.
my brother. Yeah, absolutely. There's no like, why is he saying that shit? But Bully Ray comes with it, you know, a little bit of the stiffness here on Busted Open podcast, talking about. He says, "Truth be told, Jeff better not fuck up this opportunity, because Jeff's been given a lot of opportunities. This probably will be the final opportunity for him. Listen, the world of pro wrestling does not present nearly as much temptation these days like it did 20 years ago. So if Jeff were to have another slip up, I would say that mostly on Jeff's going out of his way to look for the slip up, as opposed to the slip up just being around you at all times." I can see what Bully Ray's saying like that, but I don't think that's the case, bro. There's a lot of kayfabed Jacksonville hotel stories of sex, drugs, and rock and roll that's going on, or was at one time. I don't know about currently at AEW, and I'm talking not mild behaviors. Okay. So the video game playing comic book nerds, that's a lot of surface level shit. There's a lot of debauchery going on down there, or was at one time, to try and play wrestler because they want to act like it's 86. You know, that's like, it comes with the territory. We're building a territory. How many times do you hear that to quantify some bullshit?
We saw enough of that. I think I'm a wrestler like the old days back on 4th Street Live.
Yeah, bro. I got the Fearless Jack Bull Malibu challenges here on DVD. $10,000.
Can you guys out there imagine trying to be in the city of Louisville and act like you're somebody? Like, if you're not Muhammad Ali, you ain't nobody in that fucking city, man. Get out of here trying to, just pathetic. You know, forgot why you came down there. A lot of people on their own dime busting their ass trying to make something of themselves, and then they get caught up in that, and some of them are still there.
Yeah. And Gutterman comes in, takes your license away for a year, and then what are you? This was interesting. I was looking for this one earlier when we were talking, but a former writer believes Seth Rollins was legitimately pissed off about Raw after WrestleMania, where you were alluding earlier to that. I was looking for this one, but couldn't find it. Fans on social media have debated whether the segment was scripted or originally intended. During his podcast, Freddie Prinze Jr. and co-host Jeff Dye discussed their perspective from being at ringside for the show. Dye said the following: "They played a commercial during his intro, and then we could hear him having a freak out on some production people. He was going, 'Why is there a commercial?' You couldn't really hear what he was saying. You could just tell he was mad for sure." And then Freddie Prinze Jr. he said, "What the hell's going on? I saw this coming out of his mouth. I think he was more pissed than pissed at them. I think he was pissed when he went backstage and whoever did that. But if I was him, I would have just been just as angry. And I thought the way he dealt with it was so hardcore and awesome. Instead of cutting a promo, he just throws the mic out of the ring and walked out of the friggin' show. You can't tell me until you're blue in the face that it was scripted. That's a bunch of bullshit. I know real stuff when I see it." You know, there was that where people were saying that they're doing a worked shoot, and then he was pissed off. But, Raquel and Liv enter, and then they go to commercial. Then they come back with the match flow of the week, and they're still standing in the ring waiting to cut their shitty promo. I don't know why. Well, I do know because of script ripping, why anybody would even allow this to be in a booking sheet of entrance, commercial, recap, promo, when you can do commercial, recap, entrance, promo, and the fucking segment will work. Why they cut their own throat in doing these types of stupid fucking things where you got to stand there for 2 minutes and then come back and think that the crowd's going to be super hot doing it. That is a easy formatting fix with an arrow that goes switch this if you wrote it the wrong way, and they continually do it. And it's got to be for a test or a fuck you at some degree. When as this guy gets over in his entrance, why are you going to commercial? And him walking out, something is interesting there.
Yeah, I really have no idea why. When they started doing this a few years ago, I immediately noticed, and you're just like, what possible purpose could that serve?
Yeah.
The only thing that there were times where they would break up people's entrances with other things and breaks and other things, and the only thing I could think of was like, do they think that like the audience has such a low attention span that they have to not stay on any one thing too long, but then you would have like a long match, so that doesn't add up. I don't really.
Plus, he was probably already frustrated because earlier in the day we were told that script was fucking shredded. So maybe that's why they're like, fuck it, we'll cut his segment. He just goes out and does his entrance and comes back and like.
But doesn't it seem like more work to try to do something unnatural than it does to just be like, if you ripped up a script and you had to do something at the last minute, you'd think, okay, well, we just got to go entrance, promo, whatever. Like, you wouldn't have time to be adding a bunch of packages and other stuff for the truck to do. It seems like that's more work than doing it the classic way.
Right.
So that doesn't make sense either. I don't know what they're doing. They are doing it on purpose. What the purpose is, I'm not sure. I don't know whose idea it is.
They had a format. They shredded the fucker and they restructure things. And then they go, we got 6 minutes to fill. And they don't think about, all right, we'll get Seth over. That's 4 minutes. And then in between, we'll cut to commercial, get an extra 2 minutes out of there to fill that 6.
How do you not think of that though? How do you not think of how if you had time to fill because you're scrambling after a format got ripped? Why wouldn't you just say, hey, Seth, go out there and lead the audience and chant for 6 minutes? Why do you even need to try to do extra stuff? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah. Or the fact that you can tell them to go lead it for 6 minutes, but let's do it with entrance and chant, not take the break and the match flow in between. Like you've killed the segment for what it was supposed to be. And sometimes they do it because of ignorance and working on the fly, and other times they do it out of vitriol. So and sometimes a little of both. So it's interesting to me to see if he did walk out and there is no game plan going forward for him post Logan Paul, and that they're just using him in that respect when he's pretty much essentially the locker room leader from what it's been told here. Are they testing him to see what he does? And if he walks out, is that a locker room leader? And or are they working at a high level and that this is all a work to fuck with the sheets?
Nope. They don't care about the sheets that much. Seth is one of the only people that would have the cash to do something like that. To try to push back. Obviously, Raquel and Liv can't. But there's also the interesting thing, which I brought up on a couple weeks ago, about the interview with Daniel Cormier, where Seth is on the record of saying that him and Cody are not cool and almost got in a fight. Probably because he would rather be in the spot that Cody's in, and maybe that's because he knew what they were about to do. Saying like, well, what a waste, but
that's
either
crazy
way.
To me, and the fact that they had that cage match or the Hell in the Cell with the Rip Titty, and it was phenomenal. You'd think that would bond those guys to some degree to work together and do something, but
it probably started that day when they told Seth he had to go under to the one-armed guy, which is why I brought that up to talk with you about it last week, because that could have been that was the genesis of a lot of where this went wrong in the first place. Like, to not only not get the sympathy for him, but the heat for Seth. You did double wrong business on that night.
Yeah.
You're basically saying, and now, and again, like looking forward to now, they program Cody with Brock. So I'm supposed to get interested if Cody can beat the guy that the guy that he beat with one arm beat Brock in like under 5 minutes. So this should be real easy for Cody with two arms, right? Like, I feel like Cody should go over Brock instantly. Like, it should be a 30-second match. It should break King Kong Bundy's WrestleMania record.
Or maybe you have to hurt him in order for him to go over. Like, you got to break his leg.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it was.
But shout out to the chat as we're over 40 and Raymel Smith joining up. What's up to you, buddy? Hopefully you're having a good week. Kicking off here, hanging with us on the Monday Locker Room here at channelattitude.com. You guys giving away that free Monday morning buzz with your cup of coffee, cup of love here on HMG. And thank you again, Vet, for joining me this morning on the fly. Got to start off solo, and shout out to RBV working hard at the racetrack, and Timmy B getting healthy and going to be coming back to us soon here. So I'll definitely pass all that love you guys were showing earlier on to Timmy, and he'll be watching this show too. You guys.
However, no thanks to Twitter for not notifying me of the message I had in my inbox, inviting me onto the show.
Yeah, he's worried about doggy coin and not DMs. But
damn it.
This is an interesting ongoing still and kind of sad, and goes back to our discussion with Rhea Ripley selling for, marks on social media and killing her own business, and everybody else doing similar stupid work. But reaction to Vicky Guerrero disowning her daughter and shocking claim. This is from podcaster Salamonster. Salamonster reacts to a sad and shocking situation involving Sherilyn Guerrero and the daughter of Eddie Guerrero, accused of her stepfather of assault on a cruise that the family was on 3 years ago, and her mother's horrendous spot. Oh, must be just an opinion piece that Salamonster did for No DQ. But for those who haven't been kind of keeping up with this, this isn't selling for marks. This is selling for your family openly in front of everyone in the world on social media with big TikTok claims of abuse. Against her stepfather on this cruise, then Vicky issuing a statement telling she's pretty much a terrible daughter, and they bailed her out of 3 apartments that she left and 2 surgeries, and they footed the bill for that, and that she's toxic, and then Chavo tweets saying that he supports Sherilyn and da-da-da-da during these difficult times. Then I think Shawl, the sister, says that the allegations of abuse were true. However, her sister is also megalomaniac and nuts, and we all need to go to therapy together, but you won't return my calls. Then Vicky puts out another statement slamming her daughter, and then a statement from a lawyer after that, pretty much saying going forward we'll deal with this besmirchment in court and all this type of shit, man. But these huge diatribes of personal family business are being done on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, and it's just cringe level bad, and very disturbing why people think this is the way to go about this stuff, when really, if your daughter is losing it and all that shit, you put out a statement and say we'll deal with it legally and no sell, because it's nobody in the real world's business to do that. But it seems we just can't stop ourselves in this sickness in 2023.
It's very dangerous. I can see how if you're a young megalomaniac, as the accusation was, I believe that's the word you used.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see how if you're of that generation and if you're not necessarily in your right mind, you could just say, okay, yeah, TikTok is where the most people are probably going to see this. So if I have something to say, I can go there and I can say that. Now, anything that comes as a response to that or a rebuttal to that should probably be done through a little more official channels than social media things. But I can understand the kid part being like, social media is the way to go for this, right? I can understand that part. I don't understand the rest. Is Vicky Guerrero still with this guy?
Yeah, she went to bat for him, saying that it didn't happen and whatnot. But,
and Shawl says there, it sounded like what she was saying was that, both things can be true. Like, my sister can be crazy, but still have gotten abused. And that's a perfect victim for somebody who is that kind of a person, because they'll be like, who would ever believe you?
Yeah.
So that's how those kind of creeps activate. Yeah.
I'm not trying to say he did or didn't, but dude, you see the dude and he's like that 60-year-old balding white guy that is, fits the profile of what would be
Chris Hansen would be telling this guy to have a seat,
bro. Now I'm not saying yes or no, but if you were to do central casting, it's all right there. And I'm not trying to laugh at that at all. But Jim Harder, as a commenter, Paul London loaded on Vicky Guerrero and Rene Dupree's podcast. I'm not sure if that's the lost episode you're talking about with GGP and I that got pulled instantly, but he did. And I was like, wow, Paul London out of nowhere bringing that heat on Vicky. And it was kind of had me going back a little bit because every time I've interacted with Paul, there's never like that negativity. It's always kind of peace and love, you know.
Oh, well, you must have not have interacted with Paul that many times because he's very capable of that, but it's usually justified. So if Paul's saying something with that much vitriol, you better listen because he's not like a bullshitter.
Right.
So
he doesn't go out of his way just to fuck with people, but when he gets his digs in, it's usually on the side with like a funny rim shot, you know what I mean? But dude, he flipped it and he went, he was shooting some darts there. So it had me like, oh, okay, maybe there's some things I don't know here just in my small interactions with the family for sure. So interesting. And Renee reached out to me on Facebook Messenger, and we're going to link up again. He was, thanking me, and I thanked him absolutely for having GGP and I on with him and James and Paul, but they're going to be starting a Patreon, and we're going to go back on there to do a little bit more protected behind a paywall talk so we don't get zapped right away, talking S-Hook or any other thing like that. So very cool to hang with those guys, and I'll be up there slapping some French-speaking morons in Canada at Great Northern Wrestling in Ottawa on May 6th. So maybe Renee will be there.
They need it. They need it.
They do. 3 CM Punk finishing stories today here. That's the
he's a main eventer after all.
He is. Let's see here. But Brandon Cutler deletes a comment about the article that claims CM Punk is gaslighting ECW. Certainly Punk. On Friday, an editorial was published by Deadspin with CM Punk's gaslighting ECW. Here's an excerpt. Certainly Punk knows the draw that any feud with him and the combination of the Bucks, Omega, and Page would be. And it certainly looks like he's playing on that to get his return without having to own up to anything he did or said and trying to make the others the real villains in this. He'll turn the AEW fans against those who created AEW in the first place if he has to, or he'll die trying. Before just saying he's responsible in any way for his own exile, it's really classic Punk. And Brandon Cutler retweeted that with someone gets it, and then tweet apologize, dive, repeat. So Brandon Cutler, you can go to prowrestlingtees.com/pinhummy and get that shirt right now. It'd be great to see that one on AEW Dynamite. And again, big shout out to Adam DeJanes, great listener of Channel Attitude, HMG, and Russo brand with the signs in the crowd on Dynamite during Darby Allin's entrance, and then they got taken away by Don Stevens. So yeah, we can't even promote our podcast where we.
But the truth is out there. We got the screen grabs. You can't say we weren't there.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And they're loving us today as well, Vet, and I'm loving it too, man. Appreciate you once again, filling in here. But I can keep going unless you want to talk about that one. We got 3 to get through here. We can do.
Fuck Brandon Cutler. What the hell does he know? Anyway, moving on.
And also Jericho and that they'll work together, and he's like, not Jericho work with everybody. He goes, not everybody retweeted. So whatever.
Jericho does a lot of stuff in character on social media, even though he also exposes everything on his own show, his own podcast, and everything. So it's like you never know what he's doing.
I can be guilty of that too. Update regarding CM Punk possibly being the new star of AEW show on Saturdays. This is their answer to, instead of making it our main show, we're going to create a third show that nobody's going to watch and put this guy on there to keep them all keep them separated, right? And it's like it's like daycare at this point, bro. It's not even men working together going off the real heat that would actually draw an audience. No, you're going to go over there and work these guys, and it's going to be phony wrestling instead of playing into the real heat. But there's a meeting soon that involves Jericho, TK, CM, FTR, and there may be others in there as well. That's coming up. I guess an idea is resolved to resolve everything, or attempt to resolve everything. This is from Meltzer. So don't believe much of it. It's going to be interesting. Tony Khan wants Punk back to be the star of Saturday's show, and it's probably surely going to happen. I heard about the Saturday show long before the reports of Punk coming back. Could it be related? When you look at the idea behind it, it definitely could be related. You're going to go against every big boxing match. You're going to go against college football all fall. You're going to go against the World Series. And there's going to be NFL on Saturdays at times. Saturday's the toughest night for the sport. That's going to be a very difficult night for them to draw anything, but most of their hardcore audience, because there's so much competition. So why the fuck are you making a Saturday show, bro?
Furthermore, why do you want a new show on TNT when TNT moved the flagship show off of TNT?
Right. Ridiculous.
You already had 2 hours of AEW on TNT and you moved it to TBS. Very funny.
Yeah, you keep Wednesday, you scrap Rampage, rebrand the new show, and make it your Saturday morning, 11 a.m. to noon wrestling show, bro. Like just like Superstars in 85. Why would you do a Saturday night show when you've got people going out all summer? Football, like you said, boxing, everything, UFC. You're looking what fucking media marketing metric, if you are the analytics kid, tells you that is the right move to go against them at night?
I'll try to answer that for you, Ben. I'm not saying that I agree with it, but let me try to get in the headspace and answer it. Because the AEW fans aren't going to do any of those things anyway, and they're not going to bring in anybody else. They're just going to create more content for the fans that they have. Now, this ties into what you said earlier, because you've been saying this for a long time, but I've never really had a chance to actually discuss it with you. When you're talking about the issue that happened with Punk, the locker room fight, all this stuff, and you're saying how the real money is this or whatever. My opinion, there is no money in that. The money is because the only people that know we live in a different world than what the fans that we're supposedly trying to attract. We talk about bringing in more eyeballs, casual fans, the people that aren't on Twitter, the people that don't follow dirt sheets, the people that they just look at wrestling as either I'm going to watch it or I don't. And I watch what's on the television program, what they present to me. They won't know what happened with CM Punk and all that. So they're not going to be that hyped. The people that are watching now, you've already got their money. You put that in a building, it was probably going to sell out anyway, but now you can, you're going to get that. So if that's something for like we were talking about the Wembley Stadium show, that could be something to bring in more hardcores that may not have felt like going to see it. But you're talking about trying to draw people in to a fake phony wrestling match based on something real that happened that nobody saw. So that's not a real money draw, because we overestimate the amount of people that really know about that stuff. I heard stories of people that were going to Dynamites, like going to live Dynamites and whatever, and those AEW tapings, and being like, why isn't CM Punk here? They didn't even fucking know why he wasn't there. They didn't even know that he was hurt.
You know I hear everything you're saying, and they've done this once before, maybe twice, and I liked it. It's not that the crowd can't see it, or they don't know, or the hardcores aren't there, or how we're even going to get, outside people. But how do we tell this story without having those guys face and they give their little testimonial or whatever of their side of it? Yeah. Well, I remember when they were doing Serena's last feud before she left, it was about what JR thought about what they thought about it. What is everybody's outside opinion in the sit down of each person, in that, of the Bucks, of what they've done. And that's how you tell the story from the outside perspective of the locker room, of what they heard, what they know, what they think about those guys, how long they came up with them. I've seen Punk do this shit in OVW. It doesn't surprise me. What's Colt? Cut to Colt Cabana. He just goes, like fucking, all that. Like, let the locker room tell the story in their own way. And even Jericho's sitting there doing another one, and they ask him a question, and he takes a drink, goes, fucking asshole, and puts the bottle down. And like simple things like that to build that heat could rekindle that in a wrestling.
But even then, you have to remember, every single show, multiple times, every week, you have people punching each other backstage. Wardlow destroyed a car on Dynamite, and his reward is a TNT championship match for that. Yeah. And then these guys bum rush a dude, and somebody gets punched in the face, and this guy's exiled from the business now. Like, you cannot equate the two and make it into a work. That's why
Wardlow destroys your car, and your response is to powerbomb Silas Young off the ramp. And
that'll teach him.
That'll show him.
Last real man, my ass.
Oh.
Yeah. So
No,
I mean,
you're not wrong, Vet, and that's what they should do. Like if you've got Sammy Guevara and Eddie Kingston doing this dumb shit backstage, then we go to All Access, and it's date night for Sammy Guevara and his girl, where she complains about not having her own storyline and not getting pushed while he's getting a match, but she wants the best for him, and they're supposed to be top heels, but we want to see him as fucking Danny Zuko and fucking Grease or whatever, like that's what they're at the fucking roller rink, or they're at David Buster's or whatever the fuck. Like it's so completely tone deaf into who they're supposed to be and how to further their own business, bro.
Yeah. So, so basically what? CM Punk's going to be the star of a new show, huh? All right.
Yeah,
as long as it's not a reality show, I'm in.
Yeah. Pro Wrestling World did tweet and say, Chris Jericho, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've always been willing to work with everyone. You always do what's best for business. People are foolish to suggest otherwise. And Jericho retweets and says, not everyone. Maybe he's working it. Like you said, he uses his social media as a great weapon, but sometimes a little more truth than maybe should be in there, but we'll see going forward. I definitely could craft that, TK, and helped bring everybody back. But from what I've heard from all of the bosses podcasts, Jim Cornette, Eric Bischoff, myself, of how they would deal with this is bring all these workers in, whether they EVP by title or whatever or not, and don't put up with any of their fucking bullshit and their excuses. And you tell them, this is what you're going to do. Now, if we got to smack each other around in here right now to get over it, then I'll go lock the door and we can do that. But you're not going to come in here. I don't give a fuck how much you're paid. In fact, I do care how much you're paid, because you're paid so much that you're going to shut the fuck up and do what I tell you to do. And if you go into business for yourself, then there's going to be even bigger repercussions. So keep fucking up if you want to, but watch what happens. Otherwise, let's get back to business and draw 90,000 fans and stop making my fucking day harder around here. That's pretty much what all the bosses said, because letting these guys go, oh, he's coming back, but we'll make a Saturday show so we can do phony wrestling and not address any of it. And these guys can stay on when. That ain't going to fix not one problem in your locker room. You're showing the kids at the elementary school that the kindergartners run the class around here, not the teacher. And that's exactly what that move is going to do until you bring them all into a room, spank ass, and fucking get them on the same page and show that I'm the boss and what I says goes. Nothing's going to change around there, bro.
Well, ultimately what it looks like is that, the way I see it, Tony landing CM Punk that was his white whale. So Tony is Captain Ahab, and he got Moby Dick. And he's got him now. He's not going to let him go. So everybody else is going to have to walk before that goes. The amount of work that he had to do to get to land that, like these, Kenny Omega, the Bucks, all these, wannabes, they could take a hike at the end of the day. He doesn't want them to, but if it's an ultimatum situation, let me just tell you who's going to be walking, because they're not worth one of him altogether.
Too bad he didn't read it, and that Moby Dick smashes the fucking boat once you catch him.
Well, this is the alternate ending that they filmed.
I don't think so.
This is where
Moby Dick, and he smashed the fucking boat.
Still not going to let him go. Still not going to let him go.
Hold on, old man in the sea.
Captain's got to go down with the ship.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And we can steer this one right into the iceberg dead ahead at the end of that. But nobody I'd rather be swimming alongside, hanging on to old top of a piano till we get to the Philippines or wherever we're going. Now, just kick and swim. That's all we could do here. But again, man, they love you here, Vet, because you're a Rip Rogers guy, and above all, you're an HMG guy. Thank you so much for all the work you do on Impact Attack with Let's Go Brandon and putting up with that nutty bastard Big Ray over on the Next Level Review, man, and obviously jumping in the foxhole with me when the call comes, man, to defend the front lines here on the Monday Locker Room, pal.
It's very easy. You just sit and talk.
Absolutely. At Opinion Haver, you guys find him on all social media platforms there. He's sharing our stuff, and you can ask him questions, and he'll give you a perfect veteran answer all the time. What else you got going on this week, Vet? Anything cool?
Nothing super cool, but yeah, just later tonight we'll be live on the Impact Attack, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking about Rebellion that just happened, which I'm in the middle of watching, and then I'll be all caught up by then, and we'll review that and the Go Home episode to it, and then of course, Big Ray, Next Level Review. Wednesday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. We always have a good chunk of the show set aside for whatever we want to talk about, and then we'll get to NXT if we feel like it. But you never know what's going to happen there, because it's like we were discussing the interesting possible shakeups of what might happen to NXT. So far, no telltale signs or any hints or anything. So it seems to be business as usual for now. So then it's business as usual for us. And then, every Friday, Rip Rogers, speaking of Rip Rogers and Rip Rogers, guys, he does a live Q&A on YouTube. So you're going to want to check that out. Usually around 11 Eastern, I think, but it was late.
11 or noon. Him and Von Lilas go live on Facebook and YouTube, so definitely join that.
Right.
You guys.
It was late last week, but I missed it. But sometimes even I can pop in just like here, and you never know. So you got to watch, and then of course, I always put over Stevie Richards, everything he's doing. Follow him on all his
Came back to
channels.
SmackDown Live this week. We recorded yesterday, so
Nice.
Stevie made his first show back yesterday, man. It was a great time. I also got a shout out to our other big brother Stevie Ray TV tonight, and former NBA star Tracy Murray joining at 8/7 Central, I believe, or it might be.
I think we have some overlap. I think like we start to go, or right as he's wrapping up, it seems like. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, we'll pitch out to them if anybody's live to send them over there. I also talked before you came on about the big transformation in physical and vocal of Trish Parker, Jordan Grace. So maybe I know Big Ray had put some stuff out there that he was kind of worried about. Is this mentally the best thing going on right now? So I'm sure you and Let's Go Brandon or Big Ray will have a couple things there, because those tweets caught fire this week. And it's not to be malicious and go, oh, look, everyone can make their jokes in chat or whatever privately if they need to. But this dopamine hit of Instagram likes while you're doing things to your body that are a little bit too extreme, again, it's your choice. You get 80 trips around the sun, do as thou wilt. But I'm sure there'll be some interesting conversation there with you and the boys this weekend.
Yeah, I'm not going to give it away here, but I already have a line written down. So
good. Yeah.
So tune in tonight to hear what I say about that.
Great. You guys, I'll be in St. Catharines, Ontario this weekend on the 23rd. Number one contender for the Crossfire heavyweight title, Vet versus Tyler Turva. 420 party at Horseshoe Genetics, 1188 Erie Boulevard in Rome from 3:30 to 10 on 420. And I'll be here all week clocking in, getting everything out for you guys at channelattitude.com. It's those Rip Rogers guys, Hacker Hameen, and the Vet, the Monday Locker Room, for all the Haminians out there.
Don't be a stupid bitch.
You goddamn right.